Now, there still might be one game left to play in Game Week 22. However, I've asked my FPL experts for their top transfer recommendations for Game Week 23. And of course, looking ahead to the double in Game Week 24. So let's go and see what they've got to offer. Now, of course, before we dive into today's video, if you do enjoy any of the content that you see on the channel, please be sure to like, comment and subscribe, as we are trying to hit 12,500 subscribers by the end of the season, and it is only possible with your guys' amazing support. First off, the two players that were recommended, of course, from the Sunday 2 PM games, it is going to be Dominic CalvertLewin and it is going to be Ndiaye. Both of them scoring in a fantastic 3-2 win for Everton, and of course, with the double game week coming up in Game Week 24, people are going to be looking at Everton players. Now, in yesterday's transfer targets video, I did say that I was a little bit concerned about the Everton attackers. It's probably not an area I would maybe go for. I didn't know how they would transition under David Moyes. However, today they looked a lot better going forward. Now, I still think I would favour picking up a defender like a Pickford or a Mykolenko. However, after today's performance, I am a little bit tempted with either of these two forwards. Now, I've owned Dominic Calvert-Lewin earlier this season and it didn't go well. I got memed to hell by my kind of, Discord and everything like that. A lot of people gave me a lot of stick for it. A lot of my mates did as well, and it was awful owning Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Do I want to go through that again? No. He is a massive troll and does have a reputation for it. But as you can see here, okay data. I think he had 6 shots in today's game as well. 1 goal, of course, getting himself involved in that one. The big appeal with him over Ndiaye as well, of course, is going to be those penalties. But if you look at the fixtures coming up, right, Brighton, they're not one of the best defences in the league. I definitely could see Everton going there and scoring. Leicester are absolutely abysmal at the moment. I really think Everton should be winning that game if they want to obviously push away from the relegation places. Liverpool have got their frailties at the back as well, so who knows what could happen in that one. A home fixture as well, back-to-back home fixtures in the double. But with your forwards, you're probably more favourable that they get something out of the Leicester game, but you never know with that Liverpool game. And then we go into Palace, who have looked better defensively, but still not an awful fixture if, of course, you did need to keep them for Game Week 25. So I don't mind the Everton fixtures coming up. They're not ideal, but the Leicester one in the double game week, of course, is going to be very, very appealing. And that's why I think people are maybe going to be considering worth taking a little bit of a punt or a gamble on a DCL or, of course, an Ndiaye. Now, if I had to pick between the two right now, I probably would lean more towards Dominic Calvert-Lewin. It is the penalties. We see it with so many players, how important and how imperative they can be for point scoring abilities. So I do think going for a penalty taker always is my route to points. But Ndiaye's not a bad player as well, and he does come in at a cheaper price bracket as well. Of course, though, you can see his data isn't as good, not getting as many shots in the box, not as many on target, and on all that stuff that goes with it. I do feel like he's one of those players that's probably one that just will score like a random edge of the box kind of goal. But if I was to pick right now, I probably would go for Calvert-Lewin. However, what I am concerned about, of course, is Everton's attacking data as a side. Let me bring up this slide for you. As you can see, this is the expected goals for the course of this season so far. And if we look towards the bottom of the table, we can see Everton right down the bottom. They are not a very good attacking side. They don't create lots of opportunities. They don't have good underlying data. Of course, though, a lot of this is going to be under Sean Dyche, and we all know what his sort of football is. It's a defence-first mentality. Now, Moyes is a little bit more attacking, however, still will be prioritising defence. And I do think, obviously with the poor data, some of the poor finishing we've seen from Dominic Calvert-Lewin as well this season, I personally think it is a big gamble to go for any of these forwards. And in my opinion, I don't think I'm going to go for it. I'm a little bit on the fence. I do need a striker to replace Jackson after this game week, and I am looking at maybe one of Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Ndiaye Visser. They're my options in my head right now to free up some money to go and get Trent Alexander-Arnold. But it is just that double game week, and it is always that thing where double game weeks can be so good for players to go and get points out of, especially when they face Leicester, who are absolutely abysmal as well. But as you can see here, the attacking data for Everton, pretty disappointing. So there's pros and cons to both sides. Of course, if they didn't have the double game week, I don't think it'd be worth any sort of consideration. But a double game week always makes you consider these other players that usually we don't go and pick up. But let me know your thoughts on Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Ndiaye. Will you potentially be taking a little little bit of a punt. Let's move on then. Let's take a look at two other forwards that have been recommended by my FPL experts. Ole Watkins, a player that's not getting too much mention from obviously content creators, so I like this as a pick from my experts. I think he's decent. The next three fixtures as well. West Ham, right down there for XG conceded, as are Wolves, as are Ipswich. As a free, that is really, really good from an attacking perspective as well. Watkins has been in pretty decent form as well while Duran has been suspended. Obviously, he's back now, but 3 goals, 1 assist in 5 appearances, lots of shots, lots of those coming in the box as well. Good underlying data as well to go with that, and plenty of key passes as well. I'm really liking the look of Ole Watkins at the moment, and I think those fixtures are really, really tempting. The only problem, of course, with Ole Watkins, and this has kind of been the problem we've had all season with him, is he's a little bit too expensive, and obviously when we're trying to cram people like Trent, or there's other interesting assets we want in with our midfielders, it's a little bit difficult to find the budget to go and get Ole Watkins, especially when so many of us already have Alexander Isak as well. How do we combat that and get another premium forward into our kind of attacking lineup? I don't just think it's possible, and I think that is going to be the key caveat of why a lot of us won't end up owning Watkins this season unless he starts to go on a little bit of a mad run. Of course, the other implication is going to be Duran. He is just waiting there, sat there. They obviously have Champions League football as well, 2 games that they need to go and win either side of game week 23, so one before, one after as well. Back-to-back midweek fixtures for them as well. So that does, I would say, dampen it a little bit because you feel maybe Duran starts the West Ham game or maybe he gets the Wolves game as well. So I do think that kind of rules out Ole Watkins for me personally as an option. I like it. I do think he's putting up some good data, and there's definitely some investment opportunity here into these Aston Villa fixtures. I think if you've, got Rodgers, definitely a very, very easy hold over the next few with these good fixtures. But I probably would not be looking at Ole Watkins or, of course, Duran for that matter. They obviously rotate extremely well between them, and Watkins as well, like I said, it is that price point that is going to be the sticking point for a lot of us going and getting him in. On the other hand, though, Jean-Philippe Mateta, the next 3 fixtures are where you realistically probably need to be bringing him in if you want him. Brentford, terrible defensively. United, we saw that again, absolutely woeful. And then Everton as well, despite them winning today, still managed to concede 2 goals as well. They're still having some frailties under new management David Moyes. But Mateta has been banging the goals in, of course, on penalties as well. There's sometimes Eze takes them, but I think Mateta probably is going to be leading the way in terms of the penalty taking ability. So I really, really like this one as a pick. However, I think if you are to bring him in, it is going to be for this next 3 game weeks. After that, probably not worth any sort of consideration in my personal opinion. So Watkins is going to be a no, but I do like it as maybe a differential option. Mateta, definitely for the next 3, I would be maybe considering him if I did need a forward pick. Let's continue then. Let's take a look at the Liverpool double game week assets. Of course, a lot of these were mentioned by my FPL experts with, of course, the double game week as we saw coming up over the next few weeks. So we've got 3 defenders, 3 attackers on here. Trent Alexander-Arnold, Van Dijk and Konate. I'm just going to outline it. I outlined it in my transfer targets video yesterday. Trent is my favourite out of all of the Liverpool players. Just, that's it. Simple as. As you can see, his underlying data is pretty decent. Top for predicted points over the next 3 game weeks as well. He looked really, really good against Brentford. Of course, they've got Ipswich, then the double, then Wolves at home. The only problem with, of course, picking these Liverpool players is heavy fixture congestion. You do, of course, have the Carabao Cup second leg. You've got the FA Cup next round as well, the 4th round, and then 2 Champions League ties thrown in there as well. So we might see a little bit of rotation, maybe for Trent Alexander-Arnold. Maybe Conor Bradley sees the Champions League games, of course, with Liverpool already looking to have progressed through that competition. I don't know how it's going to work, so that is a little bit of one of the problems, but that goes for pretty much anybody. I would say maybe bar Van Dijk on this list, so maybe that is the appeal of potentially going for him. But I think if I've got that money, I would rather try and find the extra money to either go to Trent Alexander-Arnold or just drop myself down to Konate. I thought he was absolutely exceptional against Brentford yesterday, was sweeping it up, was keeping Mbeumo and Visser very, very quiet, and he could be a very nice and easy budget way into that Liverpool backline at 5.1 million. Has also better underlying data than Virgil van Dijk, which, obviously is really good. And I think his predicted points will, of course, rise as we see more and more minutes for him. Of course, he's just coming back from an injury. Last week as well, came off in the 60th minute, again, just managing his minutes on his return as well. But yeah, out of the defenders, probably Trent number 1, Konate number 2, Alisson, if you want to throw him in there as well at number 3, and then Van Dijk at number 4 for me personally. I don't think you're getting too much in terms of value for him out of that 6.4 million bracket. Moving on to the attackers then. Diaz, Gakpo, Darwin. Obviously, we've got Jota. They've got Chiesa as well that I've not included on this listing. This is the reason I'm not going to recommend picking up any Liverpool attackers. I think it could be, a really, really good way. We saw that with the 11FI data in yesterday's video. The projected numbers are stupendous. They just are really, really good. But of course, it is rotation. It's that heavy fixture congestion. It's the fact you've got so many players fighting for spots as well that I just don't think it's going to be worth the gamble for me personally. Diaz, of course, got the best numbers on this list, but he started seeing some more early substitutions. And I think with Darwin, of course, getting the brace right at the end, that probably means a start for him over Diaz in the next few. I think Gakpo is probably the most nailed one on this list as well, with him seeing decent minutes on the left-hand side. However, like I said, they've got those Champions League games. Maybe Darwin starts that one, doesn't start the Premier League one. I think there's just too much fixtures, too many quality players within those positions that are just not going to be worth kind of looking at for me personally. I think if you land on the right one, great, but I think there's a higher probability that you actually miss out and land on probably the wrong player rather than picking up one of the ones that is going to do exceptionally well over this list. However, if you were to look for an attacker, for me, I'd probably say Gakpo is going to be his man. He's the one that has seen decent minutes. He's probably going to be his left winger for the remainder of the season. And I do imagine he is probably going to be first choice. But like I said, for me personally, I'm probably going to be looking at Trent Alexander-Arnold. I think you get what you get with him is, of course, the clean sheets, but also decent attacking numbers as well to go with that. Of course, there's going to be a lot less defending for him to do in these decent fixtures as well. That is obviously the main criticism of Trent Alexander-Arnold, is his defending. However, with these decent fixtures, obviously the strong projected clean sheets, again, we saw that from the 11FI data yesterday, and the strong projected attacking data, we could see probably a few, maybe mega hauls for Trent like we did yesterday, maybe 2 game weeks ago as well. I do feel he's got that ability in his locker, and for me, is personally going to be my recommendation. And, my FPL experts as well are also looking at Trent Alexander-Arnold as a potential option. Of course, the big issue that most people are going to have is finding that price, and if you can't afford it, then for me personally, just go for Konate. That was my FPL Experts series. Let me know what you think of the players included in today's video. Of course, if you've got any questions about your team as well, get them in the comments, as we'll try to answer as many as we possibly can. But thank you very much for watching today, ladies and gentlemen, and good luck in Game Week 23.